Okay, today is finally the day. We are going to rate every single car in Rocket League. Awful timing to do this because a new one's probably going to come out in a couple of weeks when the Rocket Pass comes out, but hey, here we go. Also, according to YouTube statistics, only a small percentage of the people who actually watch my videos are subscribed, so if you enjoy my content and you want to see more, then please consider hitting the subscribe button. It's free, you can always change your mind. Dodge Charger from the Fast and Furious pack. Let's see, where should we put this? It's a Dominus Hitbox, it doesn't fit it very well. Customization options, it does have customizations. Nobody, I think, has ever used this in competitive, so gonna have to drop that in a C. Then next up we've got the 1989 Batmobile. That's the year I was born, so yeah, I'm old. Anyway, this one, it's I think another Dominus Hitbox. Again, doesn't fit it particularly well. It's a pretty cool car, but it doesn't fit the hitbox well. It's not used in competitive, doesn't really have any customizability, so sadly that's going to go in the F tier. Nissan Skyline, a piece of iconic JDM history. Obviously Paul Walker's car in Fast and Furious 2, which Too Fast, Too Furious. I love this car, I think it's great. It's got a decent amount of customizability. You can stick on some animated decals from any Universal ones. It's a difficult one for me, but I think it fits the hitbox really well. It performs quite well in terms of the hybrid hitbox. I'm gonna stick it in A because I like it. Aftershock, this is going straight into F tier. I don't like this car at all. It shouldn't have a Dominus hitbox at all. It should have an Octane hitbox. Just look at it. I don't know why it's got a Dominus hitbox. It doesn't make any sense to have so. Animus, Breakout hitbox, fits it quite well. It's actually somewhat of a decent car. Just a shame it doesn't have much in the way of customizability. I'm gonna give it up in the B, I think. It's a decent enough car to main if you like the Breakout. I'm not a big fan of the Breakout hitbox though, which is why it's not going any higher. So the Armadillo, it's an exclusive to the Xbox. I don't think it has any customizability options. Because it's a platform exclusive, I can't rate it very highly because it's very limited and not many people can use it. So I'm going to stick this one down in C tier as well. I don't know why I've got all three of these. I'll just do one of each, I think. Artemis Gxd, I hate the engine noise. It's got decent customizability, I suppose. I think it runs Batmobile hitbox, which is fine. I'm not a big fan of the Batmobile hitbox. I'm going to stick this one in C tier as well. Backfire. Backfire I love. The Backfire is a car that I play quite regularly actually, and who wouldn't like it? It's a hot rod. It's really cool, and only thing that it's lacking is a bit of customization options. It's got the sort of default ones and you can do the black market decals, but just needs a little bit more love, I think, from the developers. But either way, it's a good car, fits the hitbox well, and bonus, it was used in competitive play by Marky Doodah in RLCS, so that automatically bumps it up. So I'm going to put it up in B. Batmobile, another car that's actually won RLCS before. I think, did Fairy Peak use it? I don't know if Fairy Peak used it, but Turbo Pulsar definitely used it in his, and I think Cuxer used it when he won RLCS as well, but he might have been in the Dominus then, I can't remember. Either way, great car. Gonna stick that one up in A tier, I think. No, it's gonna go down to B because of the lack of customization options. Battlebus, F. Nothing more needs to be said. It's hideous. It's just horrible. It doesn't fit the hitbox well. It's just terrible. Sweet Tooth. I'm gonna stick this one in F as well, just because it's a platform exclusive. Doesn't look particularly good. I'm being quite harsh on these. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. I can't even say what hitbox it uses. I think it uses the Octane hitbox, even though it should probably use the Merc hitbox. Bone Shaker, quality looking car, absolutely gorgeous. I think it looks mean, and I think that if you turn up in that, then people are just gonna think, uh-oh, this guy's gonna demo me. So I like that. I'm not sure about its customizability because it's one of the Hot Wheels DLC, and obviously not currently available either, so I'm going to have to stick this one in a C tier, I'm afraid. Breakout, one of the standard cars, lots of customizability for it. I don't believe it's ever actually won RLCS. Whether it's actually been competing in RLCS, I can imagine it probably has. Very much commonly used with the freestyle community, and it fits its hitbox well. So I'm going to have to stick this one up in, probably in B, because I don't like the way it looks, but it is a decent car. Breakout Type S, not a big fan of it. I think it fits the hitbox quite well. Customization options, again, it's somewhat decent. I'm going to stick it in the C tier, I think. As you can see, it's kind of tilting down towards the bottom end. I think we're going to have to be a little bit more kind to some of these cars, but we'll get to some good ones soon. The Sentio, not a big fan of it. I think it looks fine. It was kind of the first sort of hypercar type looking car, I think, if I remember rightly. I don't mind this. I think it's another Batmobile hitbox. I think as the other one's a Batmobile, I think since this one has sort of more customizable options, I'm going to stick it up in B tier with them. Shikara, which again is very much like the Artemis. I don't really like these that much. I'm going to stick this one in the C along with the Artemis. This one I think is called the Cyclone, and that one is actually a pretty good car from what I believe. It's the same hitbox as the Breakout, used again quite a lot of freestyles. I've seen Jazer use this one quite a lot, and I think it's quite a decent car. I've not used it much myself, but I think it's alright, so I'm going to stick that one in a B tier as well. The Delorean, who couldn't love a Delorean? Unfortunately though, no customizability options, so I'm afraid that's going to knock it down a few pegs, and competitiveness, don't think it's done. It also suffered a really big problem where it had the wrong hitbox for ages, so it was originally introduced with the Octane hitbox, despite it supposed to have the Dominus hitbox, and they did revert that back in a recent update, but it was still in the wrong one for quite some time, so that one's going to have to go in the C as well. Now we're getting to the good stuff. So this one is the Diestro, or Distro, or however you say that word, and I believe this is actually a really good car. I've not used it myself, but from what I've heard, very promising things. I'm going to stick this one up in B tier. Dominus, everybody loves the Dominus. Dominus is a quality looking car. It's one of the nicest looking cars out there, and it has tons of customizability options. It's commonly used in RLCS. You can't really go much wrong with it. Gotta go up in the S tier for me. Dominus GT, however, looks like a pig from Angry Birds, so that one goes way down in F tier. Actually, no, we'll not be that harsh. We'll put it in C. Ecto 1, not a big fan of the way it fits the hitbox. Hitbox registration is pretty poor on it. Looks like it should have a different hitbox like an Octane, but it's got a Dominus hitbox, which doesn't seem to work with this car. Also lack of customizability options. Sorry, but can I do that to Ghostbusters? Let's put it up in C for now. The Endo, another really good hybrid car. I'm a big fan of the hybrid hitbox. I'm gonna stick this one up in A because, again, it's one of the ones that performs really well with that car. Maybe sort of A.5 could have fallen down into B. The Esper is, I think, an Octane hitbox. No, it's not. It's a hybrid hitbox, I think, but it's horrible. I just don't like the look of it. I don't think it looks nice. Doesn't have a lot of customization options, and it just isn't a very good car. So this one, I think we're going to have to stick down in F tier. Fast FWD, or four-wheel drive, I think it stands for. Not a big fan. Looks hideous. Good hitbox representation though, so I can't put it down in F, but customization options also terrible, so I'm gonna have to stick this one in C. The Fennec, the rival to the Octane for its sort of competitive glory. Most RLCS players these days either use the Fennec or the Octane, and it's hard to actually put it below S tier because what can you say? Despite all the sort of Fennec main jokes that go around, the sort of proof is in the pudding really, and yeah, it's got a lot of good customization options too. Not as much as the Octane, so I suppose you could try and bump it down for that, but I don't think I can. I think it's just got to go in the S tier for me. Now, Ford F-150. Brand new, not very happy with the price tag, but looks nice, and I think it does allow you to customize with some level of customization. I don't think you can do much customization with it, but I think you can do a bit. The only problem I have with it is that it's got the Octane hitbox instead of the the Merc hitbox. I thought that's kind of what they would bring in the Merc hitbox for, these sort of designs like big trucks and stuff. But either way, it's got the Octane hitbox. I would have thought maybe a hybrid could have also worked with it. I think I'm going to stick this one in the B tier. This one is the Gazelle Gt, and this is another Hot Wheels exclusive. Not a big fan of these. I don't think they provide much in the way of customization, if anything. Gonna stick this one down in C tier along with the Fast FWD. Gizmo, not a big fan. It doesn't fit the hitbox very well at all. Customization options are lacking with it. Has some nice little flappy wings on it, and it's quite sort of cute in a way. But yeah, it's not a great car. Has been used in RLCS. Torment did use it for a little bit. The Grog, who can't love the Grog? It's lacking in customization, but it's got a good hitbox representation and a pretty decent car. The hitbox itself is the Octane hitbox, and you can't really complain with the Octane hitbox very much, so I'm going to stick this one up in B. This one, the Guardian GXT, I'm not a big fan of. I think it's kind of the same as one of the other ones. It's kind of like a cross between a Sentio and a Werewolf, I find, and it just seemed to lack inspiration, I think. So I think it's a Dominus hitbox. I'm going to stick this one down in the F tier, and the F tier is getting a lot of love at the moment. Harbinger will actually stick in the C tier because it looks actually quite good on its own, but the Harbinger GXT is the old Renegade from this supersonic acrobatic rocket powered battle cars, and that is a fun car to use. I do not mind the Renegade or the Harbinger at all. I think we'll stick this one up in the B tier. Yeah, because it doesn't have that much in the way of customization, so I'm gonna stick that one in the B tier. This one, and again, it's one of the platform exclusives. Not a fan of these platform exclusive ones, and I can't really say much for them because I don't play on Xbox, so that's going in the F tier. The Hotshot has a special place in my heart. The Hotshot is the first car I used when I started Rocket League, and if I can find it, I have one of the mini pullback racers. Seem to have lost my mini pullback racer. Anyway, yeah, the Hotshot has a very special place in my heart, and I'm a big fan of it. Even been used in competitive play as well. I can't remember the player's name, but I have seen the Hotshot being used there. Not very many customization options. It doesn't look particularly great, but it's got a certain charm about it, so since it's got a special place in my heart, I'm going to stick it in the B tier. The Ice Charger fits the hitbox quite well, I think. It's Dominus hitbox again. Yeah, I'm going to stick this one up in the B tier as well. The Imperator DT5 is kind of the sort of go-to second car I find to the Dominus. It's like if you want a Dominus hitbox but you don't want to use the Dominus, this car I see being used quite a lot, and it's because it fits the hitbox really well. I'm going to stick this one up in the A tier. The Jaeger is again like the Skyline. It's a very, very good representation of the hybrid hitbox. It's very nice to look at. Kind of gives me that Porsche 911 vibe to it. Really, really nice car. Also going up in the A tier. We're starting to give the A tier a bit more love now. Jurassic Jeep Wrangler, terrible hitbox registration. This top bit sticks out horribly. It's very thin. It just doesn't really suit the Octane hitbox whatsoever. And it's got no customization options whatsoever. So unfortunately, that one is going to go down in the F tier as well. Kit the Knight Rider car, again in the F tier. Dominus hitbox doesn't fit it at all. No customization options except for a little steering wheel you can get on the top of it. And yeah, I'm just not a big fan of that one. Moving on, we've got the Komodo. And the Komodo, I think, is actually quite a decent car. It's got the Breakout hitbox, and it's going to have to stick this one up in the B tier. I'm going to do the Luigi and Mario cars together because they're both the same. Again, platform exclusives. No customization options, can't really say much for them. The Mantis is the Batmobile hitbox. I believe it fits it quite well as well. And I have seen it used quite a lot and quite regularly throughout ranked. So it has a really, really nice, interesting design and has that sort of insect look, which I assume is why they called it the Mantis. And yeah, I actually really like the look of this one. It's got some decent customization options. It was kind of the first Batmobile car that people started using other than the Batmobile and started customizing it. Yeah, I'm gonna stick this one up in B tier as well. Now the Marauder is actually a really, really good representation of the Octane hitbox. Doesn't look particularly great. I don't think there's much in the way of customization for it either. I know that they did release one decal for it not that long ago. Wow, I'd say not that long ago, it's probably 2 years ago now. Anyway, it's a somewhat decent car. It actually fits the hitbox quite well, like I say, and it works fine. So I'm gonna have to stick this one up in the B tier as well. The Mazda Moon, or the Mazda Moon, or however you pronounce it, was once a really good car when it had its own hitbox, and there's a lot of old players who really wish that it still had its own hitbox because it was used quite a lot. As it turned out, they moved it, they changed it to a Dominus hitbox, I believe, and it just doesn't seem to work that well with it since then. And I think it would probably suit a hybrid hitbox better than it does suit the Dominus one. Either way, it's going into the C tier, I think, just because it doesn't have that same hitbox anymore. It does look nice, but there's not very much in the way of customization options either. We'll stick this one in the F tier, this one in the C tier, because it's actually quite nice without the fancy things. But this one is the Maverick GXT, and the Maverick is actually a Dominus hitbox, and it doesn't do too badly with it. It's actually quite a nice car to use. It looks really pretty, and I'm going to have to stick this one up in the B tier as well. The McLaren 720S, I think it is. It's not particularly great. It doesn't seem to fit the hitbox again. It's the Dominus one, and yeah, it just doesn't seem to have any customization options. I'm gonna stick this one down in the F tier as well, even though it's a McLaren. Now the Merc, obviously, been given its own hitbox, really, really nice. I've got a whole video explaining the Merc hitbox on there, and yeah, it's somewhat decent car. It's got a lot of height to it, and it works really well. If you want to get a lot of demos, and this is the car for you, really. And we're going to have to stick this one up in the A tier. The MR11 I think is another Hot Wheels one. Again, we're going to stick that one in the F tier straight away because we don't get to use it very much at all. The Mudcat GXT, kind of a rally car looking type thing, and I like the sort of stickers that it has on the side. I think it's got some decent customization options, and it actually fits the Octane hitbox quite well. Yep, definitely worth a try, and I'm going to stick that one up in the B tier. The Nemeziz is another Dominus hitbox, and I love this car. I think it's absolutely stunning. I think it's got the sort of Datsun 240, 260Z vibe to it, and that's just an absolutely stunning car. So customization options a little bit lacking. I think it could do with a little bit more. This was a Twitch Prime exclusive, so it's no longer available. Don't know if they'll bring it back at a later date or not. And that one is gonna be going up in the B tier. The Nimbus, not a bad car, not a great car. It's got really, really nice design on it. I really like the look of it. Hybrid hitbox, but it just doesn't really fit the hybrid hitbox that well. It's also not got the greatest in the way of customizability. So this one sadly goes in the C tier. And now we've got the Octane, and where else could we put the Octane but F tier? No, I'm kidding. Of course, Octane goes in the S tier. No car has won more RLCS championships than the Octane. Has by far the most customizability in there. Octane's ZSR, the Octane's sort of ugly brother. It fits the hitbox well. It's just basically an Octane but with thicker edges. So yeah, we're gonna stick that one up in the A tier because it gives you a good option for the Octane, not an Octane, but is an Octane, if you make sense, and it's actually got some customizability. Paladin is Kronovi's old car. So Kronovi actually used to use the Paladin when it had its own hitbox, but since the hitboxes were standardized, no longer got any love. So not a big fan of the way it looks. It's fine, doesn't really do much for me. I think I'm gonna have to stick this one in the C tier. Sorry, Crow. Peregrine TT is a car that I've not actually tried yet. I think from what I've heard, it's fine. Don't think it's got much in the way of customization options because it's quite new still. And I'm gonna stick this one in the C tier as well. This is nice, taking nice shape now, I think. Proteus has actually been played in RLCS. It's hideous to look at, but comically so, and so comically so that we can't rate it bad because it actually fits the Octane hitbox quite well. It looks daft, but has silly wheels and stuff. And yeah, Squishy Muffins used it in RLCS. I think Flakes used it in RLCS, so you can't really argue with that. So I'm gonna have to stick this one up in the B tier. Moving on to the Remix, I think the Remix is gonna sit in F tier on its own, but the Remix GXT, no, definitely goes up in the B tier for me. It looks gorgeous, and I think the sort of fiery sides that you get on it, you can do so much in the way of customizability. And yeah, it actually does have a hybrid hitbox as well, which is decent enough. And yeah, it's somewhat fun to play with. I actually quite enjoyed playing with this one. The Ripper is actually a really good Dominus replacement, and I see it used somewhat a lot, and I don't really have any problems with it. I think the only lack of something is customization. You don't get any decals for it, and yeah, it could be improved on that front, but it's a solid option, so we're gonna stick this one in B tier. I'll do the Roadhog and the Roadhog XL together because I can probably put them both in the same tier. They both sort of fit the same categories. They look the same-ish. They have the same hitbox, and it's actually a perfectly viable car to use. It fits the hitbox well. Doesn't have the greatest in the way of customization options, but perfectly acceptable, so we're gonna have it in the B tier. The Ronin, again, similarly to the Guardian previously, it just looks kind of samey, has that kind of werewolf / Sentio vibe that I was complaining about before. And yeah, I'm gonna stick those two in the F tier. I'm going to stick them all in the F tier because I was really, really disappointed when they came out with the Ronin. The Samurai is again the Breakout hitbox and has these sort of very harsh edges to it, which are actually quite nice. It kind of looks like some sort of Ferrari / Lamborghini slash Pagani Zonda hybrid. And yeah, I think it looks kind of cool. I think it's somewhat decent to use if you're a freestyler and you're wanting a new car to try. I think this is actually a pretty decent option because it's got the same hitbox as the Breakout whilst giving you quite a nice car to look at, I think. So we'll stick this one up in the C tier. Now we move on to the Samus car, and again that's going to go in the F tier because it's platform exclusive. And now we have the Scarab. And the Scarab has to go in the S tier because it's the only car that's banned from RLCS for being too overpowered. I'm kidding, it's terrible. However, it is a meme car and we have to put it in S tier just for the memes. Moving on to the Sentinel, I think the Sentinel is a very good Batmobile replacement, so it's got a little bit more customizability that you want. If you want the Batmobile hitbox but don't have a car to use, then I think the Sentinel is probably the best option for that. So I'm going to stick this one up in A tier. Moving on to the Kumi, and I think this is an absolutely garbage car. It doesn't fit the hitbox at all. It just doesn't look particularly nice. I know some people like it. It's got kind of a cool intercooler look on the bottom, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of it at all, and I don't think it performs well. We'll stick the Takumi down in C or F, C or F, C or F. Let's stick it in the F tier, as well as the Takumi RXD, because that looks even worse. Now the Batmobile from the Dark Knight film, that one is actually a really good representation of the Octane hitbox. It plays quite nicely. Unfortunately, not a lot in the way of customization options, but if you want a viable car and you like Batman, then hell, why not use it? So we'll stick it in the B tier just for its practical use. Triton, disgusting looking car, but I think it's got the hybrid hitbox, could have the Octane, I can't remember off the top of my head. Either way, not a lot of customization options available, I don't think, and it's not particularly nice to look at, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to stick this one down in the F tier. Twin Mill, again, it's one of the Hot Wheels DLC, it's not available to use anymore, again lacks customizability. We're gonna stick that one in C tier along with the other Hot Wheels cars. The Twinzer, very good option. It's again just like the Octane, has the same hitbox, and it's got some decent customizability options, so very practical and very useful if you want a car other than Octane to use. That one will go up in the A tier along with the ZSR. Now the Tigris or however you pronounce it, that one I haven't actually had the pleasure to use yet. It's a hybrid hitbox, but it seems from all the looks and everything that it fits the hitbox quite well. I think it should be a pretty viable car to use for competitive play, so I'm going to stick this one up in the B tier as well. The Venom, again, we've got a nice hybrid hitbox and it's actually got some decent customizability options. There's a particular decal that I like where it's like, I think it's called the Venom Flex or something like that, where it's just like some ripped muscle guy, and I think it looks really cool. So you can also get it painted and everything, which is also really good. And yeah, and it's a fun car to use, so I'm going to put this one up in the B tier. The Vulcan, again, I'm not a big fan of the way this looks. I don't think it's really that nice. I think it's another hybrid, and it's hard to judge because I don't really use it very much. But yeah, I think the engine audio in it is terrible as well, and I'm just going to stick this one in the C tier. The Werewolf is a car that I actually quite liked when it first came out. I think it's a Dominus hitbox, and it looks really nice to look at. It's not got much in the way of the customizable options, but it's got some, and that's enough. And yeah, it's somewhat decent, so I'm going to stick this one up in the B tier. Now the X-Devil has one of the coolest customization options that you can do. If you have the sort of hustle brow topper and the furry paint finish, you can make a Cookie Monster car, which is really cool. It's also a hybrid hitbox, which works really well, and it fits it quite well, so I'm going to stick this one up in the B tier, as well as the Mark II, although I think I'll get some angry comments from Woody for putting it in B tier and not A tier. In fact, let's stick it in A tier, as well as the original, because they both fit the hitbox well. They've got the customization options, especially the original one where you can make the Cookie Monster car, and yeah, they're perfectly viable cars. The Zippy, on the other hand, I cannot stand. I think it's a disgusting looking car. It looks like it fell out of a cereal box, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. I think that one's going to go in C tier. And there we have it. Every single Rocket League car that's released in the game to date, all rated for your viewing pleasure. If you disagree with any, if you want to berate me with abuse in the comments, let me know. If you liked the video, like it. If you didn't, dislike it. Subscribe to the channel, and until next time, see ya.